the Beardist YouTube channel. We finished up the cabin. Want to show you the final walkthrough of it, what we did. We're going to start a fire today and see how our stove worked. So we'll show you guys what we did and how it looks when it's all done. Stay tuned to see it. Okay, just arrived. In case you haven't seen the other videos, I'm going to show you the exterior. I'll show you what it looks like now that it's all done. So here's the outside. This is the approach. It's a lake down there. It's dry right now because we're still in a drought, but there'll be water in it eventually.
Can I go on the lake right now, Dad?
Here's the other side. No, don't go down the lake. I'm still going to finish underneath here. I'll put some boards under there and paint it so it matches, but we painted the T111. It turned out really good. On the corners, I just put 1x3s to make it look real nice. I trimmed these out where the T111 met up. Also did that around the windows. I caulked around the windows as well as the top. I'll show you over here on the other side what that looks like. So here's the back of it, and I'll back up in a second so you can see it better. I want to show you what I did up here. I caulked on the top, and you could also use J-channel here if you didn't want to use caulks. Let me back up. Sorry if that was a little close. I'll do one more spin around the outside further back so you can see everything. Up top, we've got a big smokestack. I'll show you the fireplace in a second because I'm going to light our first fire. We have tin roof. We also have fascia, which is that 2x6 treated board on the outside. Turned out real good. Ended up going with a prefab door. I wanted to do my own. So because I bought that prefabricated door from Menards that put me a little over budget, I think our initial budget was $1,500 without the stove. And we went over that just a little bit because we bought that prefabricated door. So that put us up to, I think, about $1,650, not including the stove and stovepipe. And keep in mind, the tin on the roof was reclaimed. So if you're going to build this, you're going to also have to account for tin on the roof. A more economical option would be shingles. Asphalt shingles would work just fine with the construction that we did. I'm going to go inside in a second so you can see that now that I've gone outside twice. I put a rubber boot around the smokestack there. I didn't do a video on the actual stove installation just because there's so many good ones out there on YouTube. I didn't even watch one, to be honest. I just threw it in. It was that easy. So here's the inside. We're still going to put in some sort of flooring. Hey girls, can you go outside for a second just because I'm talking? Thank you so much. I'm happy you're excited to be out here. Do you guys like the cabin?
Yeah.
All right. So here's what we did on the inside. I put corrugated tin everywhere. My plan was to use reclaimed pallet wood on the ceiling. I started to take those apart. I had all this extra tin lying around. I ended up just to go with the tin instead. It's been really, really nice because when it's cold or hot outside, this has been cool. And then when it gets cold outside, I guess it's still cool. But when the stove lights up, it's gonna cook in here. It might actually even get too hot. So fun to see how that's gonna be, but this is what we did on the inside. The stove, which I'll show you after we light it. Like I explained in the construction video, I went kind of close. The book called to be way further away from the wall than I did. But I added this piece of tin here with a gap. Then there's more tin on the back. I use these galvanized blocks, as my son just showed you, to keep it away. Now I've done research and that's supposed to work fine around this black pipe. The silver pipe is double insulated. You only have to be 2 inches from that, so that's not going to be an issue regardless. But we're going to start a fire and see how that turns out. What I did for the bunks, as you can see, the kids are in them.
Yeah, and then you can climb through the
Yep, you can climb through here. I'll back up so you can see better. Put a ladder in. Just simply use 2x4s. If you build this same cabin and follow me to this point, this should be nothing for you to build. Just simple 2x4s from the top to the bottom. One there, one in that corner. Just simply ran a 2x4 into the wall back here to frame it. Okay, then we ran these. We didn't go every 16 inches. We went a lot further. There's just 2 in the middle. These things are plenty strong. They're not going anywhere.
Is that the sharp pins up?
Yep, the tin's a little sharp up top, as my son pointed out. We're gonna have to do something about that. There's a bunk up there. So we have 4 bunks here, and it's still a pretty roomy cabin. We have a cot. We stayed out here the other night. It just turned out really good. We're really excited with it. Oh, he stole your bunk? We're gonna share them. The other thing I'm doing is I am trimming out where the tin meets. I just think it looks nicer. So I've got a couple more pieces here we're putting up. But I'm really excited about this. I'm happy for the budget we came into. I mean, it's solid, it's strong. This is the stove I went with. It's a US stove. It's rated for like 900 square feet, so it's gonna work just fine. So I'm gonna fire this thing up here and see how it works. Make sure that that's not gonna be too hot. Step outside here for a second. So we'll light that up and see how it goes. The only other thing to add is this porch here, or this deck. We do plan to have the roof come out above it next year and then maybe screen it in for the beautiful view to not have mosquitoes. So that's why I left the tin like that. If you didn't want to do that, they sell a piece of tin. It's called, I think, a corner piece that you could put around there, and that would look a lot better as well. So that's the cabin. Really excited with it. I wouldn't change a whole lot if I did it again, to be honest. It was a lot easier than I thought it would be to do. Anybody can do this. Like I said, I'm not a skilled laborer. I know a couple things, but this was not that hard to do. So I'm going to start a fire and see how that goes. We just started a fire. As you can see the smoke. Well, maybe you can see it on the camera, not sure. But it's going good. I'm really happy with this. Got a pretty good fire now. Got a pretty good fire going now in here. We have some pine 2x4s burning. So pine burns pretty hot. It's cooking pretty good. I'm leaving the door open. I want to give this a test right now just to really see how warm it gets. I don't want to touch the pipe. I mean, I can feel some heat coming off of it, but back here, this isn't bad at all. I really want to get it real warm today just to make sure it's going to be fine, but I'm pretty happy with this so far as where I set it. I should note I put it on some tiles. I am going to add some tiles in front of it just for embers or whatever when we restoke it. But I like this stove. You can see I'm happy with it. This is definitely the economy stove. A good fire going in there now. Okay, so I was just finished on this video, but I figured I would show you what happened with this US stove. I'm having some issues with it now that it's started. You can see my door shut. Fire's obviously going pretty good, which is why we tested it out. I've got no problems with the back still, but even with this door shut, I have smoke coming out from underneath here on this US stove. Now, I did read some reviews on this stove. It is an economy stove. You pay for what you get. People said this happened. I figured, man, they probably just don't know how to light a fire, or they don't know how to ventilate it properly. Now, I vented everything properly. I have a 6-inch stack like this called for. Okay, I have my good ventilation out of the top. I'm more than 3 feet above the highest point within 10 feet. I measured all that. All my piping's right. I even went above and beyond and put cement around all the little cracks so I didn't have any smoke coming in here because I've got kids. I don't want to breathe in this in. And the smoke is just coming out of it. So luckily, I bought this from Home Depot and I chatted with them and I saved the chat. And I said, hey, if there's any problems with this, can I bring it back to my local store? And they said yes. So unfortunately, this stove is not going to work. It's going to be defective. I do not recommend that you buy one of these. It's really too bad. It's unfortunate because now I got to haul this thing out of here and bring it back to the store. So we'll end up getting another stove and show you that when it's done. Yeah, we'll just go from there. We'll get a new stove and hopefully that'll work. Hey, if you like what you saw, subscribe and be sure to subscribe to figure out how I solve this stove issue.